It's like a well-worn shoe.
Okay.
There
Okay.
was
Fair
one
enough.
time that that shoe fit well and it had nice arch support, but now it no longer has arch support. And while it might fit well and be comfortable in one way, it's not really a good shoe to be worn. And that shoe needs to be updated. And so do these relationships. And not just updated. I think we all understand children grow up and move away from home. But in addition to updating your attitudes, you have to be mindful of them so that you don't fall back into the old attitudes. There's just this sort of, I almost think of it like an undertow. There's this pull back to the old way because you did that old way so many years, and then now they're in a different place and a different time in their lives, and they don't need you in the same way. And not only do they not need you in the same way, if you do those things, it can actually be destructive to the adult relationship. And it is important to build an adult relationship, which is
That
not the same as the child relationship. And if you don't build a sturdy relationship that's new, it's a lot easier to fall back to the old variety. Well, when you say, how does it work? I think you're asking me, how do you make it work as functionally as possible?
sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So one thing I would say, if we were making a soup, a healthy new soup for success, is we would have a big whopping dose of acceptance and tolerance for each other's errors, because there are going to be some. So if your daughter isn't feeling comfortable with the way that you're engaging with her, that she would find a way to share that with you in a respectful, loving way. Hey, Dad, I know I used to have a curfew, but now that I'm a little older, I would appreciate it if we didn't have to have a curfew now. So the iterative process here, and I wouldn't call it a delightful iterative process, but if you have an open, healthy relationship, which we're hoping to help people build by way of
Yes.
talking about it, right? Is
Yeah.
to, and by the way, this is just a conversation between us, but if people are really feeling challenged, they should seek more support than the
Agreed.
radiation.
Agreed.
These
Yeah.
are these are ideas that come from my work, but this is no replacement for treatment. So I do encourage people, if they're having ongoing struggles with how to navigate this next
Yes.
stage, which is very normal, by the way. So it doesn't mean you have a horrible relationship if you seek treatment or therapeutic advice or something. But to be fair, if she is curt, so you're going to stop me right there, and I'm going to ask you to stop her right there. So
Hmm.
I would say, hey, I really want to hear what's on your mind. This isn't going very well for us. Can we just take a moment? Could you find another way to tell me that? Because I really want to hear what's on your mind, but we're not doing well in this conversation. So
Right.
you stop and you make a little bit of a process comment. And you
Yeah.
might think, well, that sounds just swell, Cindy, but that's just not so easy to pull off. So
Right.
I'm not going to ask for perfection. I'm going to ask for progress. And progress would be, frankly, the first time, even just naming it, just saying, hey, this isn't going very well. You know, let's take a beat and calm down a minute, because I didn't mean harm. I'm sure you don't mean harm. You're trying to tell me something, and I'm trying to tell you something, but we're not connecting. So let's figure this out, because I think one of the things that's so hard about those bumpy places on holidays with family, which is so precious and so limited, is that you don't want it to go poorly. You don't want your time to be spent hassling through these developmental changes. But the
Yeah.
thing is, just because you're not together doesn't mean the developmental changes aren't happening.
That's
And that's
right.
why there's tension, because it's
Yeah.
a growth curve and growth hurts, whether it's physical growth or mental growth. When we're stretching, we're often not that comfortable. And so you're witnessing a developmental shift for her and for you. It's a combined change that you're in the process of. And that's part
Yeah.
of growing up, isn't it? Completely does. And I can see how you fall in the hole.
Yeah.
It's the same way your mother encourages you to go get your teeth cleaned, right? I mean, right. It's the same thing. So you know it on both sides. You know what it feels
Yeah.
like now as a parent, and you
Yeah.
know what it feels like now as, and you know what it feels like as being a child with your mother. And even
Yes.
now that you're a full blown adult, she still
Yeah.
does it. So
Yeah.
it helps you see, the full circle of life here and how this gets played out. And you can also catch yourself, by the way. If
Hmm.
you find yourself doing something and she gets a little edgy in response, you could, instead of just being annoyed or hurt by that, you could also say to yourself, something didn't go very well. She's being edgy with me. did I just do something? So you could check your own reality. What just happened there?
Right.
Because that didn't go very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if your answer is, I think I fell in the soup of being the parent of a teenager, I think that's what happened there. Then you can turn to her and say, you know what? I didn't like the way I just spoke to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
The
would be
follow up.
helpful. You're
Yeah.
older now. You can reset the frame with her, and that'll be reassuring. And then she'll be able to say, hey, it's okay.